Now we are going to discuss about the key responsibilities of a revenue manager annually. What are the tasks he or she is responsible to carry forward. So one of the crucial annual tasks is to establish a practical action budget. And by action budget, I mean that a budget which is based on the commercial action points. And it's very important to refrain from creating a budget without first specifying the desired business mix and the strategies to attain those targets. So you need to first decide on what are the market segments you are going to have, what is the market mix you are going to have, and what would be your strategies basically in the coming year for which you are basically deciding on a budget. So you have to figure these things out, decide, and then you move forward to basically creating a budget. So now there are two different types uh, basically about the budgeting process, or the distinct types as I listed here, which basically based on which you anticipate the future outcomes. So one of those, it's a realistic action driven budget, and the second one is a realistic history driven budget. So you might wonder what distinguishes them if both are realistic. While your observation is right, it's important to note that the first budget is conceived through the lens of how can we optimize our existing resources, learn from the historical data, identify the new opportunities to craft a realistic growth projection. On the other hand, the second budget, basically, as the name suggests, a realistic history driven budget. Basically, you are deciding based on the historical data you have, and you might want to basically replicate the same for this year with might be some increase. That way, if you'll have this approach, you'll not be in a position to optimize basically on the new opportunities you might have, or different changes in the market or the booking patterns, demand patterns, etc. The action budget. So the action driven approach consistent consistently outperforms the history driven approach. Although both can predict realistic and nearly accurate outcomes, the action driven approach generates fresh outcomes by capitalizing on additional incremental growth possibilities, while the history driven approach primarily relies on organic growth. Now we'll just dive a bit deeper into this. So, a budget basically shouldn't be just a one time task, it should function as an ongoing tool. So, you build an initial budget and you keep on up trying to optimize it, keep working on how you can improve. Ideally, the budget should be segmented into periods, often with one budget per month of the year. After defining these periods, it's time to analyze the data. Now, you assume that your budget needs to be categorized by different market segments or channels. Frequently, budgets lack detailed breakdowns beyond this point. So, if you really break it down and then you have uh, div- divide it into different segments and the months, you'll be able to. So these will be like these becomes your short-term goals, which every month you should achieve them so that at the end of the year you are able to achieve the budget for the whole year. So that's why it would be good to break it down, analyze um, on a continuous basis, and keep on trying to optimize basically. Several broad categories of market segments or channels are commonly used. Making precise projections based on extensive data sets, each exhibiting distinct behaviors, can be challenging. Now, recommendations. So, expectations from the stakeholders, which could be the management, company, or the owners, or CEO, for example. What level of growth is anticipated for your hotel? So, you need to be aware of what the key stakeholders are expecting from you, from the business itself as well. Demand calendar. Now, develop a comprehensive demand calendar covering the entire year. Identify potential demand by analyzing historical data. So you look at the business what you had in the last year. Significant group reservations. Check if you had some large groups. If there was an large event in the city, how many of the bookings you got during that period? Did you had any confirmed large group during that period? So you need to consider all those factors, and you need to be aware of the upcoming events which will be happening during the upcoming year for which you are going to build to create a demand calendar. You need to also look at the bullet points or the discussions which you had based on the monthly business review meetings of the previous year. That would also give you some insights into what was happening in the last year and how can you you know make use of those data points. What insights can be gleaned from comparable periods in the previous year? You can look at all the available data resources, reports, etc., to see if you are able to um, basically you need to try and find out the data points which would be helpful for you in the for the upcoming year. This will help you basically to know what went wrong last year, so that has to be improved, which strategies proved successful and should be repeated, or uh, maybe repeated with some alterations, some amendments, changes, etc. Relevant demographic trends. Consider pertinent demographic trends such as inbound travel patterns for a region or country, macroeconomic factors, and related industries. So, after you have gathered the data sets, information, and tools mentioned above, pinpointing your prime opportunities become a straightforward task. And to initiate the process, you need to ask the following questions, as this will help you build a really good demand calendar, basically, and would give you um, you'll have basically a realization based on different factors which we are going to um, discuss. So, which segments display the greatest growth potential, and what strategies should be employed to realize this growth? So, this will basically open up um, basically the areas where you need to concentrate to see which market segment basically you want to target in the upcoming year, and what strategies you need to follow to achieve the growth what you are expected to achieve from your superiors. How many new corporate accounts must be acquired to attain these new benchmarks? What proactive measures are essential for elevating group business to these new levels? Is it necessary to devise specific promotional plans? And if so, when should these promotions be launched? Because it's very important in terms of the promotions that you need to set the booking window and the stay dates very carefully, because it's very important, and it has obviously it affects the business you are going to generate through that promotion, depending on when you have started this promotion, what is the booking window, and for which period you are trying to offer this promotion. What is the typical lead time associated with the growth of a specific segment, and when and how can you commence monitoring progress, allowing room for adjustments if required before it's too late? You need to be well aware of the different lead times for different segments, so that you know when can you expect the business from those segments. So if you start receiving the business based on those lead times, that's fair enough, it's good enough. If you are not, then it should give you an indication that there's something wrong which you need to change, adopt. Once your initial draft is complete, ensure that it is endorsed by the key stakeholders within each customer group. So you need to discuss all of this once you have the initial draft ready with your sales team, so that they are in line with the targets you have set, and what going basically what as a revenue manager you are going to achieve. You need to keep in loop the other relevant departments, so they are well aware of the objectives, targets you are setting for the next year, so that they put in their efforts, which will ultimately help you to achieve what you are required to achieve at the end of the day, at the end of the year. Sorry. So this step is the most crucial one, as success depends on ensuring that everyone involved is well versed in the actions needed to reach these targets, providing the drive to attain levels otherwise unattainable. Now, also one of the key responsibility as a revenue manager, you have to work on the best available rates, decide on the different bar levels, etc., which we'll be going through. So, what is best available rate? It is basically a rate which refers to the lowest unrestricted rate accessible to the general public. There's no such restrictions such as length of stay or a restrictive cancellation policy, etc. It's an open, non-restricted rate accessible for everyone to book. Bar usually offers a guarantee that guests won't find a lower rate for the same room type on specific nights through an online travel agent or elsewhere. Usually, some hotels you might have seen offer best rate guarantee with a clause that if a client is able to find lower rate than this rate, then the hotel is going to compensate. Obviously, the customer, the guest, has to share some details with you as the hotel, and if you are able to find out that yes, the guest is right and they were able to find the lower rate than the bar rate, then as a hotel you need to compensate them. That depends on how you publish and how you promoted your best rate guarantee. It's also a commonly used rate for comparing prices amongst different hotels. To optimize your bar structure effectively, I recommend concentrating your efforts on the bar levels that account for 80% of your bar bookings. So you should focus on your main focus should be on the bar levels, which generates 80% of your business. So you put more efforts on that and try to yield and or optimize on those bar levels. This exercise serves as a valuable way to determine your true value. Imagine you have 10 different bar levels. Identify which of these levels is currently generating the most business. Feel free to experiment by introducing new levels or modifying existing ones. It's important to note that you should also consider updating bar for the higher levels outside the top 80% of the business. And the reason why is that it might sound, counterintuitive, but it's because many times discounts are linked to your bar. So you have to be cautious about it so that you don't, decide on something or offer such promotions on a bar level which you were not supposed to, and then it fires back. When discounts are applied to higher bar levels, the final consumer price often falls within the 80% range. That's why you have to be careful about the other bar levels outside of your 80% of your business. So once you have identified the price points that generate the most sales, you will know where to focus your efforts to make necessary adjustments. By targeting the right price points, you can further stimulate demand in the price range that most consumer perceived as your true value, or as your basically a perceived rate or a reference price, sorry. Generate a scatter plot which shows the price points based on the reservations data retrieved from the hotel system. If you don't know how to create a scatter plot, you can Google or check on YouTube. You'll be able to find out how to create one. This approach will provide valuable insights into where you should concentrate your efforts to maximize the value derived from your best available rate structure. Once you see on scatterplot the different price points, you'll have an idea which rates or which bar levels, for example, are being booked the most, and then you accordingly you should focus your energy on that, and to make sure that the people keep booking that, and then also you try to optimize those. Another beneficial exercise related to bar is to evaluate the appropriateness of your supplementary charges, assess the additional fees for double occupancy, families, and other factors. So you have to be very careful that the supplements which you have between single to double occupancy, sorry, or from one room category to another, or from a standard room to a suite, um, you are calculating or deciding about these supplements very carefully, and not just random numbers, because you need to ensure that your rates align sensibly with those of your competitors, and basically the prevailing market rates. So you shouldn't be doing something just out of the market which is not competitive, which will ultimately harm your pace of your bookings basically. If your supplements um, are not updated as competitive as to the ones in other competitor hotels within your area, or within your comp set at least. Flexible and non-refundable bar. Now, most hotels provide two categories of best available rates. The first, known as flexible rates, typically allows a guest to modify or cancel their reservations up till until the day before arrival, or in some cases on the date of arrival itself. Some hotels follow even 48 hours, 78 hours prior to arrival cancellation policy. The second type of bar is discounted option, where customers are required to prepay, and reservations made under this rate category cannot be altered or amended. These are non-refundable rates. Consequently, if a guest is willing to book well in advance and commit to the reservation, they can enjoy cost savings. The arrangement between this arrangement basically would benefit both the hotel, ensuring the money is in the bank and a guaranteed arrival, and the guest, creating a win-win scenario. An effective example of a non-refundable arrangement is one in which the hotel offers varying levels of discounts based on how far in advance the guest is willing to book. You can probably have, as a hotel, you can have early booking discount. Let's say 4 months before arrival you offer 15%, so you try to build some base business. Then 2 months prior to arrival or 3 months prior to arrival, you can have another early bird promotion or another promotion where you are offering 10% 10 discounts on your best available rate. That means you are trying to um, get the base business. So once you have a good base business, then you are in a position to basically yield on the remaining inventory which you have available. This not only enhances the visibility of the hotel in search results, but also results in more bookings long before the actual stay. That means you have confirmed bookings, you have already a good number of bookings, which gives you a chance to play around and optimize um, to basically yield on the remaining inventory and the room types which you have left. Moreover, it equips revenue managers with additional tools for optimizing hotel revenue, particularly for the remaining available rooms. As a foundational booking has a base, foundational booking base basically has already been established. This is what I was saying in one of the previous points. Attracting early bookers has the advantage of potentially increasing their overall spending at the hotel as well. Which basically, for example, if someone is booking in advance, they have, let's say, a budget of 500 for the accommodation for a 2 night stay or 3 night stay, and you are offering them 10%, 15% discount, which means out of that 500, uh, they had in their mind that they would spend 500, but because of your the offer which you have in place, they managed to save that money, which means that this amount they can spend at the hotel for probably for an upgrade or for room service or a dinner at the hotel. This is because the purchase decision is further removed from their arrival date compared to someone who booked just a couple of days before their stay. Because if someone is booking very last minute, there are high chances that their rates are quite high. There are no offers available. So the people who book much in advance obviously will have advantage as compared to the someone who's booking very last minute. In essence, this creates promising opportunities for upselling upon arrival. You can also try this with the people who booked very much in advance, as they would probably want to upgrade. So your reception team can try to offer them, and they can possibly go for an upgrade.